Legends.
Mobile Legends. Adrian, I play Mobile Legends.
Moving on.
Okay.
Without preliminary question and answer. Are you ready, Jess?
Yes. Are you ready, Rajay?
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes,
he is ready.
Your preliminary question for this round is, you said, seize the day and make your life extraordinary. Now, how do you define an extraordinary life in contrast to an ordinary one? Again, you said, seize the day and make your life extraordinary. Now, let me ask you this question. How do you define an extraordinary life in contrast to an ordinary one? Go ahead.
Thank you for the question. For me, extraordinary life is to live according to our rules. I live according to what I want to be. I live with a purpose, not just to survive. I refuse to become a slave for money, power, and opinions of other people. Instead of being a slave, I choose to become a servant of God, for my family, for my community, and especially God. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first happy night for tonight, Red Shade. Before we give you our contestant number 2. There you go. I passed that this one. Moving on to our second contestant for tonight, Gerald Legacy. Gerald now here's a fun fact about you, and he just got to talk about it right now. Escape. You are the only candidate who admitted this one. You eat 6 times a day. I don't know what I did. 6 times a day, is that true?
Yes, actually.
Now let me ask you, how do you manage to eat that much and still look really fit?
Eating your body is not all about eating or eating food.
So there you go ahead. Paano you 6 times a day? Ano pinaka-paborito mo? Pamahal rin ang pagkakon. Tanan. Okay. Do you want to answer your preliminary Q&A right now?
Yes.
Let's move forward. Okay. Moving forward with our second contestant for tonight, who is Jermel. Jermel, your question is, you mentioned that you are the author of your story and that every chapter is worth reading. Now, can you share with us the most interesting chapter in your young life?
As the other Mamali Gold story, the most interesting experience in my young life is to join Kapitan sa Minulu-an in 2025 as a first time. It is more than just a performance, but it is the journey into our history. As someone who is a very introvert person, I am very shy to stand here in front of everybody and to showcase my ability. But I joined Kapitan sa Minulu-an, this segment tells me about the importance of confidence. It's giving me courage to show up and to showcase my ability to everyone. Today, I am here standing in front of you and make an impact in our community, not just in our community, but in our society as well. Thank you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is something from the right to Jermel. Go ahead, Jess.
Thank you so much, Gerald. Let us now proceed how is it different from the strength of women? Again, you said society views men as strong individuals. What do you mean by strong, and how is it different from the strength of women?
Thank you for that question. Ladies and gentlemen, strength is not defined by gender, but by how we can overcome our challenges. Both men and women are strong in their own unique ways. Men are usually known for their physical strength and are known as providers, while women are emotionally deep and are known as nurturers. But instead of comparing, we should complement each other in unity. In that way, we can cultivate our strengths for the betterment of our community. Thank you.
What an answer. Thank you so much, Joey.
Thank you so much, Kapitan. Number 3, moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, we give you our 4th Kapitan sa Minulu-an 2025. We have number 4, Gary. Crowd for Gary. Gary's and we all know that you are we all know that civil engineering is no joke after all, you know now. And it is, a matter of fact, a tough course. But here you are, balancing it with your love for sports. Now tell us how you manage to hit the post and at the same time still hit the hardcore.
Good evening, and thank you for the question. Actually, yes, skating is very hard, but it also comes down to how you envision yourself. Because for me, when you have vision, it also comes with the time management. Knowing what's to prioritize first and what's to prioritize next. Thank you.
That's it, time management. Now for your preliminary Q&A rather, Gary, here we go. You said breaking out of your comfort zone creates a better you. How do you put that into practice?
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your question. Well, as someone who loves to take risks, I embody it by being eager for new challenges, being eager for new learnings and experiences. I've been having many years been playing as a frisbee, and I am just a member, and I follow what my seniors tells me to do. But also times goes by, and they all graduated, and they all left the team. And I was the one who stepped out of my comfort zone, and I was the one who stepped up to be their team captain. At first, I felt doubtful of myself, but as time goes on, I've come to realize that if I didn't do it, then maybe I am not here today, and maybe you are not seeing a Gary Estelito here in front of the stage. Let's all embrace comfort. Let's all be comfortable in the things that we are uncomfortable, because that is where our growth starts. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary. Let us now proceed with our next candidate. We have Gabriel. Hello, Gabriel. Good evening. So we learned that you have started modeling when you were 12. Now that is such a young age to be in front of the camera. How did you manage it? How were you able to stay confident?
Being a modeling for 12 years, it is where I have developed my confidence. It is where I become the best version of myself. If you know that you have the potential that can spotlight, you must learn how to fight with it. You must learn how to chill with it. Because in the end, you will have your career as well.
Okay, so here is your preliminary question. Your advocacy is safe sex education. What specific goals does this advocacy aim to achieve? Again, your advocacy is safe sex education. What specific goals does this advocacy aim to achieve?
This aim to achieve to prevent unwanted pregnancy and sexual transmission. That's why I wanted to push through the RA law, or the Republic Health Law, in which it is to make sure every Filipino, especially the women and youth, to have a knowledge when it comes to sex education. Also, it provides a free contraceptives that pills, IUDs, and condoms to those who want it, and sex education in school to help young people to make informed choices. That's why we must learn how to be responsible towards our actions. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Kapitan number 5. Gabriel for choices. But sharing very smart and responsible all at once. Moving forward, we give you Kapitan number 6. Curtis in the house, Kurt Langley. Kurt, we did a bit of digging and found out rather that you are a certified gym rat and a boulder and a boarder. Now, be honest with us. If life suddenly made you choose between lifting weights or shooting hoops, which one would you never give up? And why?
Going to the gym is the one that I would choose because being a healthy person is will be able to inspire, to motivate, and to make this community a better place.
Thank you so much, Kurt. Moving forward with your question for tonight. You said that even in the dark, real diamonds shine. Now, how do you explain this? When nothing truly shines in the absence of life. Rather, sorry, I have to correct that. How do you explain this? When nothing truly shines, what truly shines rather in the absence of light? Go ahead.
Even in the darkness, real diamond shines. But we must know that nothing shines in the absence of light. But we must comprehend the deeper meaning of it. It is on how we face challenges and difficulties with courage and dedication. Even in the dark side of our life, there is always a glimpse of hope. Just like me, I have my family who supports me, who take care of me, and showering me with love, which makes me the best version of myself. Look at the skies, even if it's dark, there's always these stars that continues to shine. Thank you.
There you have it, Kapitan number 6. Kurt in the house.
Now, before we move on to our next candidate, I just want to admire again how much our audience supports their candidates, their chosen candidates, their cheers after every answer is really there. And speaking of cheers, that is the transition you guys are waiting. The energy isn't dying, and speaking of it, we couldn't help but notice that our next candidate always brings the vibe, whether it's on the volleyball court or even at a party. Now, Sean, we will now have candidate number 7. Hello, Sean. Hi, Bubby. Okay, so let me ask you, what's one thing you like about partying?
One thing that I like about partying is about having fun with my friends and enjoying the time with them.
Okay, Adrian.
Sean number 7, your focus is mental health and wellness, right? And you also said that you love to party. Do you believe that partying can be part of maintaining a good mental health? Go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and good evening, my fellow judges. Yes, mental health can be helped by partying. Partying isn't just all about alcoholic drinks, but it's about having fun with your friends, socializing, and of course, enjoying the time of your life. As a student athlete myself, I've experienced a lot of struggles, traumas, and difficult times in my life. And that is why I want to promote social media awareness about mental health problems. And with that, I want you to improve 3 loves: self-love, determination, and compassion. With self-love, you will learn how to love yourself, and you will learn how to love others. With self-determination, you are determined to live your life to the fullest. And with self-compassion, you are compassionate in the things that you love. You are kind and generous, not just for yourself, but of course for the people that surround you. And that's why, that we should remember that to enjoy each and every moment of our life. Because I believe that you only live once. Good evening, thanks.
Wow, that was
Mankind has a big love for traveling. No wonder he's always bold and confident. The world is his runway. Pat, what is it about traveling that you truly adore and love the most?
The place that I love the most is Manila City. Not just because it's capital, but it reflects how busy we are. Traveling here reminds me that even we are in the well, I love traveling because I came from a poor family and this is my way to treat myself as the person who go to gym often. This is the part of me that as a reward to myself because as a child born in a poor family, my dream is to always know the other culture and the heritage of our city. Thank you.
That's it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kai. Let's now have candidate number 9, Michael. Hello, Michael. I heard one admirable trait about you. You are quite the kind person. Tell us, Michael, how is being kind important in today's society?
Being kind in this society is natural to me because this is the first lesson I got. This is the first lesson taught my parents taught when I was born in school. Thank you.
But for your preliminary question, Michael, you describe yourself as a kind, disciplined, and humble person. Which of these 3 traits do you think best defines you as a Kapitan candidate tonight?
I believe those traits I love because you should always possess that. But the best traits that describe myself is being kind because kindness spells strong to relationship and trust not only to yourself but to everyone, but to everyone in your surrounding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael.
That's Michael, Kapitan number 9, Michael. Who's your best performer? 1 to 9. Shout out to it. 1 to 9. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or Kapitan number 10? Our next contestant is someone who spikes his way through volleyball and apparently also through life. Here with us tonight is Iva. Iva, we heard you are a race graphic design. Tell us, Iva, do you have a specific genre that you're designing, or is it something, is it something out of the ordinary? Is it something you're passionate about? How's your artistic process like?
So first of all, good evening, Manila City. Well, you know what? I am not that good in graphic designing. I only do that out of my passion and out of necessity. And the things that I create in graphic designing is out of my mind, and usually I create logos and for publication postings. That's what I do.
No go for publication postings. I will be needing your service eventually. Kapitan number 10, Iva, your Q&A right now is your focusing is about youth empowerment. In your own words, what is one effective way to empower our young people? Go ahead.
Thank you for that question. As a consumer student leader in a public servant, I have already experienced working for the youth, and I have understood that each one of them have different needs and wants. And I think that one way, one mentally, through providing them enough support for quality education, socially, by allowing them to have positive interaction with each other, and lastly, through emotionally, by making sure that all their emotions and feelings are happy. With this, we can attain a more empowered listening youth, and we can attain a more empowered listening city. Because the youth are the strength of today and the hope of the future. Thank you. Always can was no problem with being here.
Okay. For your preliminary question, Adrian.
You said educating the mind without educating the heart is not educating, or it's not education at all. How do you believe the heart can be educated? Again, educating the mind without educating the heart is not education at all. Now, how do you believe the heart can be educated?
I strongly believe heart can be educated because educating the heart teaches people to feel kindness, care to everyone and every people. And everyone is feel free to learn.
Thank you so much. Kapitan number 11.
Okay, we are down to our last candidate. We have Nole. Nole, we heard that you love hitting the open road and feeling the wind while riding your motorcycle. Nole, tell us, if your life were a motorcycle ride, what kind of journey would it be? Will it be smooth cruising, adventurous twist, or full throttle excitement?
And for your preliminary question tonight, you ride motorcycles. If your life had a speed limit, would you follow it or break it? And why? Go ahead, Marta.
Before I answer that, I just want to greet everyone a good evening and happy New Year. And to answer that question, if I have a speed limit when following, definitely yes. Not to hold back, but to keep my life on track. And I personally believe that life isn't about rushing. It is about finding balance. And after this, I will ride my motorcycle as far as I can to feel like living and remind myself to drive it slowly to keep me safe and enjoy the journey. Thank you.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen, that officially concludes our preliminary question and answer portion of our round point. I can see our distinguished fellow judges having a hard time computing their scores because each and every segment of our competition comprises the entire whole. Moving forward is our Kaluma tire, which is a big chunk of our competition tonight. Are you ready to go? From the overall,